let's go. It's that time. Look, YouTube, say hi to Twitch. Twitch, say hi to YouTube, right? We are having the analysis right now. So it is that time. This is round 4 of my most recent tournament, which was, or not most recent, it was one recent before recent. Chicago Open, right? Same month. Chicago Open, 2022. This is round 4. So, okay, here we go. So I'm playing Edward Dean Thorpe here. Edward Dean Thorpe, he's peaked, I think, 21 something. So expert, right? Strong. He knows he knows something about the game. He also is very underrated, to say the least. So here we go. Right, this one is actually called Sicilian King's Indian. Right. In fact, I kind of created a new opening. Right. Like, so watch this. E4, C5. Right. Knight F3. D6. So y'all know I like a good knight over. Right. So we go D6 and then bishop to B5 check. Right. So bishop B5 check. I go knight to C6. Okay, and here you could go knight D7. Like, he plays, I was kind of annoyed because this one right here is an annoying one to face. This is a very annoying Sicilian to face. I'm not even gonna lie. The bishop B5 check ones. So knight D7 is usual theory. I went knight C6 though, just to mix it up a little bit. I can play bishop B7 and stuff. And then he goes castle. And then here I was just kind of off the head. I'm like, you know, I could play mini moves here. Of course, we get some suggestions from the chat. Here, what do you think you would play here in this position, guys? You got lots of moves, but I'm very curious to see how do you proceed here. You got bishop d7, right? a6, e6, e5, g6, knight f6. There's so many moves to make, right? And Z Lights says b6. Wow. b6, the b pawn, the only thing defending the knight. e6. Bishop d7, knight f6. Okay. Okay. King d2, not even a move. 7, got it. King d7, gross. Absolutely disgusting. In fact, here, after castling, I actually choose this move here, guys, which is e5, which is more of a Botvinnik setup, or a Botvinnik structure in a way, where you would see this sometimes from the white side, but also you could do this from the black side and what is it, symmetrical Englishes and etc. With bishop g6, bishop g7, knight g to e7. This is a usual setup you can have. It clamps down on d4. Problem is the d5 square is weak, but okay, it's whatever, right? You know, I have the d4 grip, and I can also trade any piece that goes here. I have no problems playing this position with black. I'm very comfortable. And also, I know one thing white likes to do is to play d4. So what does he do? He plays c3, so he can play d4. I can play knight f6 here. I can play bishop e7. I can play bishop d7, a6, h6. I'm a big fan of the unorthodox and the unknown, and of course the making you unprepared. I'm a big fan of that. So here, I know he's expecting all of these moves, even bishop g4. But the one he's probably not expecting is the one that I play here, which is queen to b6, with the idea of actually attacking the bishop, right? And then after queen to b6, bishop takes, queen takes, right? I am absolutely. This year, defy. That's right. Queen takes c6. So after queen takes c6, d4, he hits d4, and now, right, we're not developed, but everything's equal, and it is black to move, and they're breaking in the center. How do you respond to this, chat? How do you respond to this? Let's see if you can come up with something. What is the response to this d4 central breakup? Super annoying to deal with. And you're undeveloped. Bishop g4, slapjack. Bishop g4. So putting a pin on the knight. Very logical. Development, I like it. Slapjack with bishop g4. Who else? What do we do here? We have options, obviously, of capturing C, capturing E, F6, bishop e7, h6. What else did I think about here? I did think about bishop g4 too. I also thought about b6, knight e7. The knight e7 pawn takes. Queen e4, I didn't even think about that one. Queen Queen E4.
Bruh.
Well, just give him rook E1 and just like hope for the best. H5, I'll do like I'm a fan of pushing the H pawn, I'm not gonna lie. But in fact, I played this right here. Fine Gold gonna be real mad after F6. F6 is what I play here. Very strange, right? But here, the idea with F6 here is actually I'm gonna play G5 at some point, knight E7, knight G6, maybe knight F4. I'm keeping everything nice and close. Nice and close. I like this idea here. Everything's super equal. Engine approves here. And if he locks up the position, which he does, now remember this was a Sicilian, but now we are now in King's Indian territory from a Sicilian. So immediately, I'm already switching gears. I'm like, wait a second. This goes from a Sicilian where you usually take and you open the C file to now having a locked up structure. And here's the King's Indian people for people that know KID, or if you don't and you need to understand plans and ideas in the King's Indian defense. You need to have a closed structure, and this is like you're gonna learn something here for like Jedi 101, right? Okay, take notes, right? In the King's Indian defense, you should not attack the king F5, G5, anything 5. Don't do anything until you lock up the queen side. Until when White's queen side play is done, it's locked up, everything's good. You've dealt with that. Now you have a free hand. That's exactly verbatim what they put in the chess books. Free hand at the king in the King's Indian defense. So understanding this, I was already very happy after he locked it up voluntarily, so I don't have to worry about this. Now I can always play B6, keep this locked, queen side's under lock. My next goal is G6, bishop G7, knight E7, castles, H6, king H7, F5, rook G8, bishop D7. Rook G7 at some point, maybe bishop F8, bishop back to E7, double the rooks, G5. Mating, right? Mating. Absolutely crazy. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Big Brain from T-Street here. All right, what's up? Swole19, thanks for the follow. What up, bro? So, right, so this is what I'm thinking. So I play Queen C7. He goes Knight F to D2. So I'm already like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, that's not a move. Like, I'm feeling good, right? So Knight F to D2. I go Knight E7. I just finished development. Knight thou exactly. Right, so Knight E7. He goes B4. I'm like, cool, it's nothing. It's nothing. I go B6. He goes A4. I'm like, it's nothing. I go G6, A5. And right now, this is something you do have to deal with. In fact, Engine wanted me to take, but I'm like, I don't want to give him any type of counterplay. So I actually went Rook B8. Rook B8, he captured. He played B5. Now remember, what did we say? When you lock up the position, you have a free hand at the king. This went from a Sicilian to a King's Indian. This is why this is the Sicilian King's Indian defense. You're welcome. New opening. Sicilian King's Indian defense. That's what this is. Because we played a Sicilian, it got locked up. Now we in a KID. After B5, bishop to G7, I got the KID bishop now. He goes knight to C4. Now the idea here, and this is annoying. This is a very annoying piece, but increasing the pressure is going to be extremely difficult because he needs to attack this pawn, which is already defended twice. Rook A6, I mean, you can't do that. Come on now, right? I'm just going to take it. And then D6, there's nothing there. And you need another piece to be here or like here to attack this pawn. So actually, the knight on C4 is a great piece, but it actually doesn't hit anything realistically. So I was like, yeah, I mean, he has the square, but whatever, right? Whatever. So knight C4, I castle, get out of the way. After castle, he plays F3. After this F3 move, I actually saw this idea. I didn't like this idea. For some reason, I was like, he probably can do this. So I wanted to tie him down a little bit. I play bishop D7, right? I play bishop D7, I'm hitting B5. He goes knight B to A3 and defends the pawn. Okay, set it based on theory. I mean, it could be anywhere. Even sometimes move 1 to 5. Because if you play A3, move 1, you're already on your own, which happens a lot. So, all right, knight B to A3, defending the pawn. And here, I actually thought for a while. I was actually, in fact, let me give this to you, chat. Let me give this to you. It's black to move. I'm going to tell you my logic. I'm going to show you some lines here that are very cool. What do you actually do? Rook A8 from ASJ already very quick with Rook A8. F5 from Z-Lights. Rook A8 and F5. Always play F5 from T-Streets. Okay? We've got 2 from the two for F5 there. F5 and we live. F5 is hypnotic from Slapjack. And we have rook A8. H5-2, Paranoia Slays. Thanks for the follow. Okay, so check it. Look, so this is... Okay, so rook A8... Not that this is a problem. There's a lot of stuff I was thinking about here. After rook A8, I thought that he can get away with knight takes D6. Right. And after queen takes D6, he goes knight C4, which is a crazy move. Crazy move. Queen B8, rook takes, queen takes, knight takes. Right. And looking at this calculation over everything, always, you know, by the way, I mean, he takes and C4 check, king moves, queen takes. This is actually, put this on the engine, this is equal. Completely equal, believe it or not. And I was looking at this, calculating, all in my head, right? We always got to plug the merch. When we talk about calculating, I mean, this is just a plug we always have to do. Because it's a real thing. It's a lifestyle. Calculation over everything. ShopCantyMerch.com. COE. It's a real thing. You have to calculate this for real. And you have to do this stuff all the time. And it's all in your head, right? Over the board. So I remember seeing a lot of this, and I'm like, I don't want to do none of this. I don't want to do any of it. He said, why don't you play Queen C7? The idea of playing Queen C7, well, you run into this, right? Rook takes first. You're going to take back so you don't block with your whole face, right? So you got to take, and then he hits you with D6, and I'm staring at you real hard. Real hard stare, real hard flex. Oh my goodness, what happened, right? And now you're looking crazy. And then Queen D5, like you're losing everything out of nowhere, right? This is why Rook A8 was not a move in my eyes. So I was like, I'm not about to go through none of this because of this sacrifice and this knight C4 replacement. And it's very annoying. So with that being said, this is the move I chose. I also didn't choose F5 because where does he want to put his bishop? His worst piece is the bishop. He's going to go here real fast. Bishop G5, he got a square down. So here's the logic behind the move. I play knight C8. Flex real hard, right? But then at the same time, I realized that this knight is going to be here for a very long time. Even though it's a nice piece, it's going to be here a long time. So it was like good. I mean, it was some good to it, some bad to it. Trouble Donkey, thanks for the follow. So, but I handled this, but also, I mean, he's kind of tied down and like whatever. I still have the free hand at the king, though, because remember when we lock down the king side, the queen side, in the king's Indian defense, you have a free hand at the king. So, okay, and I remember we talking about King's Indian defense, but this was a Sicilian.
Bruh.
That's why, again, this is the Sicilian King's Indian defense. So, knight C8, bishop D2. I go F5, he goes queen B3. So, at this point, I'm like, yo, we're doing great. Like, I mean, what does this even do, bro? Like, what the heck is this? Like, so I go F4, and then he hits me with a move that I did not expect. He plays G4. And I was like, this man is a genius. This man is an absolute genius. Very underrated. Very underrated player. G4 was strong. That was extremely strong. That was so good, bro. G4 was such a good move. If I en passant, like the attack's gone. If I go H5, he just defends it. So like it was like, whoa. It was literally a reality check. Of like, does this work or does it not? En passant force, right? Of course I had to take it because en passant is not forced.
Garbage.
Don't know who told you that. But it's not forced. So, in fact, I played H5, right? I played H5, which does still attack G4. So he goes obvious H3, right? And now I realize the dark square diagonals here. Stuff like this. Now, this was a grind, guys. This was a hard game. This was a hard game. But we did have, again, we had all the play because we understood the ideas of like, oh, King's Indian, right? King's Indian type is position, Sicilian King's Indian now. But everything, of course, is all locked up. And after everything's all locked up like this, I have a free hand at the king. So I can make maneuvers. I go queen d8 with the idea of putting the queen on h4. Being super annoying, he finds the best move, bishop e1. Block the whole diagonal. I want to get rid of this piece. What's my worst place piece? Which is the bishop. So I go bishop f6 with the idea of bishop h4. This man plays an absolutely sweet move. He goes king f2. Bro, I'm telling you, this guy is underrated. He plays some very strong chess. King f2 and he start heading for the heels. Because he understands that I need to vacate this whole side of the board because Canty about to come over here with that saber, and I heard about what he does with that saber. So he dipped out. He dipped out. And I was like, wow, like this is a hard game now. This is very hard. This is gonna be a long one. This is gonna be a very long game. By the way, I'm only better by like half a pawn. Like this is not easy at all. So he goes king f2. I go king g7 with the idea of like rook h8. Put the rook on the file with a smile. He goes king e2, heads for the heels. The king can sit very nice on d3. I go rook h8, follow up with the plan. He goes bishop f2, connecting the rooks, making the bishop a better piece than what it was. Bishop h4, follow through with the plan. Always try to follow through with the plan. He goes queen to d1. Everything's nicely placed now. I mean, rooks was kind of connected. He's going to bring the queen over. King's kind of safe. Knights are just doing whatever, right? Now, this knight's defending. My pieces are here. You still prefer black a little bit, but it's actually just kind of equalish. I take on f2, right? And then after, there's no pressure on b5. You can, but then rook b1, right? If I pressure b5. Now, you can also give it up in many cases just for sacrificial purposes and then hit me on b6. And if I move the knight, d6 hangs. So you got to be careful, right? And even queen e8 runs into problems with like defending. Why is my queen on e8? A lot of things to think about. It was crazy, this game. So after rook takes, I go queen h4. Now I'm hitting the pawn, making some forcing moves for him because actually there's like you have to be forced here. Things lose. Like if you go queen h1, you lose. I take on g4. You can't take back because of queen takes h1, rook takes, and rook takes h1 wins on the spot. So after pawn takes, we do bishop takes g4 check. I'm up a pawn. Give me everything. Everything must go sail. Get it off the board. Right, so it's a wrap. So it's over. So queen f1 actually just drops the pawn on actually, not drops, but sorry, queen f1 is the best move. Queen g1 does the same thing. I can actually just take this pawn, right? I think I can. In some cases, they was like, yeah, you can take, but I guess not. And just like rook to h2, queen g3 is kind of draws. But I was actually, queen g1, nobody's really giving this up. He did not play that. So he played queen f1, which I expected to defend the pawn. I go rook a8 just to tie him down a little bit. I'm just trying to make the best of my position. He goes rook b1. And I make sort of a waiting move here. I put the king out in the middle of the street, like king f6. I might reroute this way just to free up the knight. We don't know, right? Like, we'll see. The rook will take his queen out. I'm blocking it. Wait, what? What are you talking about there? 19 snake 83? Rook wouldn't take his queen out? Oh, you're talking about back here. No, and let me show you, in fact. So this, after here, rook takes, queen here, queen h1, pawn takes, right, of course. You would lose a piece here immediately, but we're just showing for everyone. You would lose. Right, you lose this way, so this is completely losing. And then this way, you would completely lose this way as well. Check, pawn takes, this loses the same way. It's just losing. So you don't go this route. So the best move is queen f1, which is what he played. Queen f1, and then rook a8, and then rook b1. So rook b1, I put the king on f6. He goes king d3, right? And what I said here is he puts the king on d3, which is hard to now make things happen. Queen g3, right? And I thought, in fact, here, I kind of miscalculated. Because after queen g3, he went queen g2, and I realized I don't have the combination I was about to do. This is what I was about to do.
Bruh.
I was about to, I captured, right? He captured back. And I thought I had bishop takes g4 here. I thought he blundered. So I was like, oh, I got bishop takes g4, right? And after queen takes g3, takes, and then he goes rook g2, and I was going to take on f3, right? I'm cool. Take on f3. But he goes rook f1, and I'm completely lost. Completely lost. And I was like, dang. Well, dang, bro. Dang. So I take on g4, takes back, and I take the queen. So we're in an endgame here. But I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? Look at this endgame. I have better prospect. My pieces are just better. Not by a lot, but my pieces are definitely better. So I go king g5. Put the king on g5. He puts the rook back. And I just go rook h3. I mean, he defends everything quite nicely. He defends rook f1. Right, I go rook a7 with the idea of maybe I'll move my bishop. And then go like rook here. And then like try to do something. I mean, and it's also a waiting move. But a lot of times, it's very good, especially at the high level chess. Very, very high level chess. That you start to understand that the waiting moves are very good. And in fact, Kramnik says you have to be very good at doing nothing. When you can get very good at doing nothing and obviously doing nothing very well, even making a move like rook a7, this is a nothing move. It's very good. I mean, it does have an idea, and it's also getting it. It's improving it a little bit, right? So it's a move, right? But you give your opponent a chance to make mistakes, right? And I'm learning that as I'm getting stronger and working with my coach as well. You have to learn, and you have to learn how to wait and give your opponent chances to make a mistake. Sometimes you don't have to do something every move. So after rook to a7, he goes king to e2, which gives me the chance I was looking for. And that's it. That's it, bro. It literally, that simple move ends the game. Like, how does king e2 end the game? Chad, it's up to you. You got to find the combo, though. Calculation over everything. COE, one more time for the merch there. ShopCantyMerch.com. ShopCantyMerch.com. Find the move, chat. Find the move. What is it? Well, not the move, but the sequence. What is the sequence of moves? Why am I already doing better here? I need more than one move, obviously, so don't be like, oh, it's here. But why is it there? What's the move? It's the combination. If you're watching from YouTube, you can post it in the chat here. Post it in the chat there. Watch the pause the video. Obviously, but what's the sequence of moves? Okay, so I see bishop takes, knight takes, rook a2, knight d2, rook h2. It's bishop takes b5, rook a2. Rook takes a3, bishop b5. Okay? All right? Okay? Check. Okay? All right, so bishop takes b5 and rook takes a3. If you said these, clap it up for yourself. Very nice. That's very good. That's awesome. 100% garbage. That is not a move. Game over. Start a new one. That doesn't work. In fact, bishop takes b5. After bishop takes b5, that is not live at all. My God. Bishop takes b5. I'm just about to take those. And after check, oh, that's cute. Oh, he go knight d2. And then he gonna play king d3. And he gonna stare at you real hard, big fella. It's about to get very uncomfortable right now. It's about to get very uncomfortable. So, in fact, that doesn't work. Rook takes a3. He's gonna take it. And again, I'm about to look at you very uncomfortably. And like, bro, what the heck are you doing here? What are you doing? What are you doing? Doesn't work. Doesn't work. So in fact, the only sequence that works here, in fact, is rook h2 check, which wins on the spot. Now, of course, I say win on the spot, meaning practical chances for black is huge here. And the reason for that is there's a sequence that happens. Bishop takes b5 is going to happen if rook f2. And I saw this in calculation, COE, calculation over everything, right? Rook f2 now runs into bishop takes b5. A simple position as king to e2 had some serious tactics here. In fact, serious, absolutely serious tactics. Simple as this, you would never think that this would be here, but it is. Always be looking, right? COE, calculation over everything. Boom, right? And of course, he goes king d3, but after rook f2, there's bishop takes b5. With the whole idea of what if he takes the rook, bro, the rook's hanging. Well, I take on a3, and the knight is hanging. Now, right now, I'm down in exchange, but I'm about to win a piece. How do you defend the piece? King d3. I attack it again, and I literally win a piece. I also calculated you have to look further. So what if he plays rook h8, which is an idea here? Well, I get away with, luckily, that being check, and I can just swing around the back way, see who's home. If rook to b1, I go knight to b5 with the idea of checking here, and rook a3. This is completely crushing. He doesn't win anything, and I'm completely winning. I mean, out of nowhere. Crazy. So, right, I go back, and this is the whole idea of the whole thing. So, he doesn't go rook f2. He sees this, and he dodges it, and he plays king d3. But still, after king d3, there's a problem because I am now rook a2 attacking the knight. The only thing defending the pawn is the knight. So he has to go rook a1, which allows me to have this. Boom, boom. I take, and then, bro, I'm thinking, rook b1, like, he goes for it. He goes, knight takes b5. Whoa! And I'm like, oh, snap. This is not over. This game is not over right now. This is not over. Like, this is not over. And then you get the sense of like, wait a second, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up, bro. Don't mess this up, because that's exactly how it feel right now. Right. And in fact, the first move I made definitely messed this up. Definitely. First move, I mean, let me just one time for myself. Garbage. Thank you. Right. Rookie 1 was not the move. Now, of course, in fact, right now it's closer to equal than it is better than black. Closer to equal, to be honest. But the best move, believe it or not, is B5. I was not about to play this move, bro. B5. I mean, I'm already trying to like survive this right now. And like, I'm trying to be accurate and like B5 I'm not playing. But Rook E1, I was thinking, oh, I go here and check. And look at bro, this was scary. This was scary. All right, Rook E1, right? He goes Knight C4. Right? I go king back to F6. And then he hits me with G5. So I'm like, perfect, I'll take. Then he takes on E5. Right? Now watch this, chat. Oh my goodness. Ha! Watch this. Hold up. Where do you go? Where do you go, chat? I need to know where you gonna go. What move do you play right now? I'm very curious on how many of y'all about to block with your whole face on national television. Because it is very possible and it is very scary right now, believe it or not. Black to move, where do you go? Funny. He said, why couldn't you go Rook F3? Rook F3 was not possible. No, Rook F3 was never possible. Rook E1, he went Knight C4, and if Rook E3, he takes. He takes. Just takes it. Knight takes. Check, and then takes. And that's where we are right now. Rook E3, King D2, King H4. King F6 from Steve Areno. Okay, that's a move too. B5. B5 is a move. Okay, so look, if check, right? Check. It could also go back. They could also go King C4. So let's say it goes King C4, and you go King H4. You actually lose after D6. Get this man off the board right now. Get him out of here. You're gonna lose the game. I would, and I've been here. I've actually had that thought. Should I knock the pieces over right now? What would actually happen if I flip this board in front of everybody? That is exactly the thought that I've had many times at the board. And that's exactly the thought that you would have right now. What happened? What would actually happen? Like, what would they do? Would they kick me out? No, it would just be too much of a scene. It would just be crazy because you want to knock the pieces over after this. You know what I'm saying? That's one of those you really about to just, I can't control my temper. You know what I mean? Look at this. That would hurt. That would really hurt. Right. So I had to see that. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, if he pushes, I'm losing. So sit back and relax and think about this, calculate and find it. Is the knight better in KID because in-game's common to this than the bishop? It all depends. It all depends on what kind of in-game it is. So you can't just rule it on the one thing because then you'll have rules that don't apply to certain situations because you're trying to follow the rule. But it's great to study in-game. So 100% highly recommend Devereski. Shout out to Uncle Devereski. Knight takes E5, so I go B5. I go B5 with the idea of, zug him out a little bit. Zugzwang, where's he going to go? His king can't go C4. You can't put the knight there either. Then he goes king back, right? Where you put the rook, chat? Somebody tell me where you going to put this rook, please. He said mine don't work. No, my Devereski don't work. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. So Canty, what up, Chess Genius? 19, Snake 83 says A1, E3 from Z Lights. A1, yeah, chess bag, because the game is over. Says Slapjack. Check this out, chat, right? Again, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, oh, yeah. You can't move your knight. Yeah, you can't move this knight. Let me go Rook E3, right? And in fact, D6, believe it or not, I don't know how this is drawn. I would probably, oh man, I would resign. Because King F6 check, I mean, this is actually drawn, believe it or not. But to allow this, like, play it for one time. Play it one time. Play it one time. There we go. To allow this, that's a fail. This is an absolute fail. Right. To allow this is a fail. So king here and takes, and apparently this is drawn. Which, okay, it is. I see 3 and 3. But this is... No, bro. Not at all. It doesn't work. So rook e3 is no good. So in fact, I was like, you know what? Let's just get to where we need to be. So we go rook a1 with the idea of checking, maybe getting back here. This is, I mean, real. Then he goes knight d7. And I'm like, yo, this is a little scary because these pawns are scary. Bro,
Bruh.
if these pawns get rolling, these are very scary. But then I had to look through calculation that my king actually is close enough. In all cases, weirdly enough, my king and rook are able to chase everything. So I go c4, right, to just kind of make sure his king stays in his little box he in right now, right? And then he goes knight back to e5. Because if he pushes here, actually, just to show guys, show everyone, king f5. If you push this one and I bring the king in, I immediately win. So you can't push. And if you push this one, right, then I can actually go rook a2 check, which is my idea. And then I was just going to bring the rook all the way back and just chill. And you're kind of zooked out. So after king here, I'm going to play g5. And I'm going to wait for you to move. You move the knight, I bring the king in. You move one of the pawns, I take. You move this pawn, right, I can play rook e8 and attack this one. And then push, right, and then push, and I go king e6, and I'm literally winning.
Bruh.
Bro, I had this all calculated out, right? COE. Remember, calculation over everything. Right, so zugged out, exactly. Yeah. Right, so I had this in the head, so I was ready. I was ready for this. But it's very scary looking, obviously, especially when the pawns get close like that. So he plays knight e5. I think he kind of calculated that, which to show he didn't play e5. The guy is very strong, very underrated. Rook a2 check, king to d1. I go king f6. He goes knight g4 check. And when my king got here, I knew, okay, this is looking real good for the people in the back. This is looking real good for the home team, for the Jedi. Knight e5, he's threatening to take, so I play g5. He goes knight c6 check. I go king d6. Knight to d4. And now, all right, crushing blow. You got to figure this out. This is in-game 101. I took a while. I spent some time here thinking, as you should. You do want to spend your time. And it's black to move. How do you finish the game here, chat? How do you finish the game here? Didn't he have knight f7 at the end? Let me take him back here. Back. Knight f7. Yeah. Maybe like here. So check. No. Okay. So maybe here. C4. No, he actually didn't have knight f7 because I played king f6. So it looks like he never had that knight f7 there. In fact, king takes. He pushes. Yeah. It looks like he never had knight f7. I'm assuming because like okay, takes. Oh, maybe here knight f7, but then I have king f6. So there's always king f6 here too. Or here, knight f7, king f6. And then takes, and the king's close enough. But, so we further up, here, check, king here. Yeah, the move is g4, correct. g4 is the move. g4 is the move. You also have b4, and just said b4. I was like, oh, interesting. I actually saw b4 later, but g4 was the move. g4 was really nice. When you have pawns on the dark squares and the rook on e8. Oh, the rook on e8. So you're talking about here. The rook on e8. Is there a knight f7? Well, pawns on dark squares, rook on e8. No, if the knight here you take. Oh, you're talking about this, right? And then push, but this loses. This loses. This is completely losing. This is completely losing. I mean, I have this way and I have this way, so you never win. You also down 2 pawns, right? So this is but it's close. Actually close. But it's definitely interesting. Check, king f6. So we reach this position after g4. After g4, f takes g4, and then I go king e5, and that's it. Right, both of these are here, but he still tried to push on. He played g5. I took on e4. He played d6, and there's many ways to finish it. I finished with f3 here, king e1, and then I find another blow on the other side of the board, which is b4. b4. Yeah, g4 was the move. Yeah, that's right. b4, which is a pretty cool move. All right. If he pushes, right, I mean, I got many moves. I can go rook a8. I can go f2. But he didn't push. He went knight c2. It was like, oh, okay, knight c2. And I actually sat here for like about a minute just to make sure. Nothing crazy. You always want to make sure. That you are not playing like that you don't do this instantly and you lose. You know what I mean? What about king e2 instead of g4? That's a great question. So, in fact, let me finish out here though. I actually took and played king e3. He resigned right here. So the game, we in the game right here. So we get a dub with the first Sicilian King's Indian defense ever. Okay, ever. This is the first Sicilian King's Indian ever, right? Because it was 2 openings in 1, literally. But so you say, what about king e2 instead of g4? So king e2 actually doesn't do anything. You have to think about that. King e2, actually king e2, I think you mean king e7 or d7. G4 though, g4 is you have to try to push forward. That's the goal. Trying to push forward. Would b3 also have won if rook takes? Yeah, in fact, back here, you mean forward? Up here, absolutely. b3 was another move that wins. Yeah. b3, yeah, and then b3 wins with the idea of b2 as well. Anything, actually everything wins. Or even knight b4, I could go b2. I could even go b2 and even let him take the rook because of the queening. Yeah, everything's winning there. Everything's winning. Yeah, it's nice, right? What about king e2 instead of g4? Well, g4 was king e3 at the end, and king e3 in the end is very playable. You can play king e3 as well instead of f3. King e3 is possible, but it's kind of annoying. d7. Like, I have to go back. I got to deal with this stuff now. There's a lot of work, and I also didn't want to I didn't want to have complications, right? I mean, this is you want to make sure you give him less counterplay. So I was trying to give him what's the least amount of counterplay I can give him with tricks, right? But at the end of the day, we won this, and this was the first Sicilian King's Indian defense ever. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. This was actually round 4. We're gonna do round 5 tomorrow. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the next.